such a huge topic, Rerum Novarum, I knew I wouldn't jump right into just paragraph 1. You need an introduction. It's the most lied about encyclical ever. It is purely against socialism, and it really ends up addressing what's the relationship between employees and employers, labor and capital, as Leo the 13th calls it. Because the socialists had been, for about 40 years at that point, giving spurious solutions to the problems that had arisen between labor and capital. And their spurious solutions were socialistic. Destruction of private property and private contract. Private property and private contract. And Rerum Novarum is going to say, no, private property and private contract are basically Catholic recognized natural rights. And there are two big doctrines introduced by Leo here, huge, like political science doctrines. One, private property is a natural right. Protestants, I'm sad to say, had acknowledged this before the Catholic Church, because to that point, Thomas Aquinas had called it, 99% of a natural right, a corollary, a need of natural reason and natural rights, but not quite a natural right. Leo changes that in 1891. And then number 2, he comes up with the concept of subsidiarity. Huge for localism, for what's called in America basically states' rights. Federalism is subsidiarity in the American context. And both Leo and then Pius will unpack that. Okay, so did you know that this document had 3 ghostwriters? They're all from the Pontifical Angelicum University, the University of St. Thomas in Rome. I studied at this school for some coursework as I worked toward the licentiate, which was eventually toward the doctoral degree. Their names are Luigi Tapparelli, Matteo Liberatore, and Tommaso Zigliata. They prepared Rerum Novarum for Leo the 13th. And the mystery English Protestant Enlightenment philosopher that they channeled with Thomas is none other than John Locke. Now, Locke had already for over 100 years, he's a Whig, an English Whig party practitioner, one of the favorites of later Whigs, along with Algernon Sidney. Locke had long said that private property was a natural right. So he technically beat us to the punch on that, though Aquinas, 600 years before that, had said it was everything but a natural right. It was natural right adjacent. But there's some very conspicuous ways that Leo, through his 3 ghost authors, Tapparelli, Liberatore, and Zigliata, adapted the teaching on property more than just the conclusion about it, that it's a natural right, but the kind of reasoning about it that was explicitly Lockean. These guys were part Lockean in their reasoning, and you guys out there have been taught to hate Locke. Locke's an Enlightenment liberal. Locke hated the church. Locke's a corpuscularian. These are all true things. But when he's talking about private property and implicitly about private contract, Locke is quite based. So understand this. When you hear Catholics just reflexively, oh, I hate the Enlightenment's evil. John Locke is blah, blah, blah. Well, we would not have the Catholic teaching fully understood on either private property as a natural right or subsidiarity without the minor tweaks that Leo the 13th decided to make to the Thomistic teaching on these 2 doctrines. It's very, very important. Very, very important. People don't understand that. It's fashionable for Catholics to take a poo-poo on Locke, but Leo the 13th actually magisterialized his view of labor conversion of property. We're going to talk about what this is. I tweeted this before Christmas, and someone said, time for an in-depth show on this topic, bro. I didn't know that 5 months later, I'd be doing a show because there'd be an American Pope who seems to be an enigma. I'm not going to talk too much about that. All the liberals voted for him, but we're being asked to consider that somehow he's really conservative. I don't know. What time will tell, I guess. But an American pope that takes the name Leo XIV, which I was suggesting and others out there were suggesting, what should the next pope be called? Well, it'll be Leo XIV or Pius XIII if he's based.
Isn't that the name when we were just like playing around when we said, what would you be known as? You'd be known as Leo XIV.
He's my favorite pope. And he's not even canonized yet. No matter how bad or good Leo XIV ends up being, hopefully he will canonize Leo XIII. So this is a hot topic. And let's get into the paragraphs now, understanding that at the Angelicum, where I studied, I took a class on Thomas and Islam. That was amazing. Steph, you sat in on it a couple times. Yep. You had three Lockean Catholics, Lockean Thomists, who were not spinning fake gold out of yarn or whatever Rumpelstiltskin did, wheat. What was it? They weren't making this up.
Oats, I have no idea.
they actually they took Locke's labor conversion theory of property, that when you labor on, say, chopping down a tree, you labor on it and you chop it down, and then all of a sudden you have a stack of firewood for the night if it's cold. Or if it's warm, you just have a useless stack of firewood that you're not going to use. But it's yours largely because, not only because, but largely because you labored on it. That's a uniquely Lockean idea that is endorsed by Leo XIII in here. That's added. Thomas doesn't have that anywhere in his theory of property. That's added by Tapparelli, Liberatore Zigliaria, and Leo says, that's good. I'm going to take that. And because of now there's a stronger covalent bond of causality showing how labor is related to property. And it's that Lockean basis. You know, Thomas is 99% of this property theory, but Locke is the last 1%. Now, Leo XIII feels more confident in robustly declaring that property is a natural right. So he actually changes a little bit of Thomistic philosophy in, I'd say, a healthy way. And we've prefaced it a lot. So right away, this is right-wing talk.